Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign and our service honoring General Assembly and the service of the living tradition, which we have taken the liberty of taking some parts of and combined into a service for you today. We hope that you enjoy that. Our land acknowledgement. Each Sunday we begin with a land acknowledgement of the indigenous nations of this land. Wherever you are listening, please bring to mind the indigenous peoples of this place. There will be a moment of silence after the acknowledgement. We recognize and acknowledge that we gather today on indigenous land, taken through deception, coercion, and violence. We acknowledge the continued displacement and oppression of Native people and honor their commitments to survive, identity, and the protection of our world. Thank you.
Let us pause for a moment to remind ourselves that even though we are apart, we are together. In spite of virtual space, we are one. Let us bear witness to whom we are becoming. As such, we light this chalice with intention, with optimism, with grace, and with the tenacity that the fierce urgency of now demands of each and every one of us. Masakan, let us build together.
As you may know, this church is taking part in an ambitious local fundraising effort to address issues raised by the COVID-19 pandemic. Our goal is to raise a total of $30,000 for 3 separate local efforts: CU Better Together, CU Fair's Pandemic Response Fund, and the Red Herrings Bucket Brigade program. Today, we have a special video appeal from the Reverend Dr. Cheryl Palmer of Faith United Methodist Church in Champaign. Dr. Palmer is one of the leaders of CU Better Together, and she will be explaining their wonderful program to us. After that, we will proceed to our regular weekly offering, half of which will be shared with Uniting Pride, a wonderful LGBTQ+ resource center for the entire East Central Illinois region. We now have a way for you to give quickly and easily by text and credit card. Any funds you give by text will be shared equally by Uniting Pride and UUCUC. You can also visit our website after the service to make your donation to the COVID Relief Fund, or to pay your pledge, or to just give because you feel like it. That URL will be on the screen shortly. Thank you. The offering will now be received.
Hi, friends of the UU Church of Champaign-Urbana. My name is Cheryl Palmer, and I am the chair of the Interfaith Alliance. And that's why I am coming to you to speak on behalf of the CU Better Together program that I understand you all are helping to raise funds for. Thank you very much. We have been working hard all summer. This is much of the food that will be distributed through at least July because of faith communities and donations like you are providing. In fact, we have provided over 18,000 meals to 10,000 different children and families, and we thank you. I'm going to bring you over here and see some of the food. We're going to be doing some packing tonight, and then the food is taken to the schools or delivered directly to their families and by the bus drivers who have kept their jobs all summer. So again, we thank you for your continued support throughout our entire community. We know you're one of the churches that really step out in faith, and we thank you so much for including this summer the See You Better Together food program for families in our community. Thank you.
Good morning. Each Sunday, we come together to share our individual joys and sorrows. We share our joys so that our friends can help us to celebrate those memory moments in our lives. And we share our sorrows so that our friends can help us, can support us through those tough times in our lives. If you would like for me to read a joy or sorrow from you, then please email it to joysandsorrows@uucuc.org. Now, any joy or sorrow received during or after this service will be read next week, and then it will be printed in the e-news, which is our weekly newsletter, the following week. So again, it's Joys and Sorrows at UUCUC, sent to us by 5 p.m. on Friday. But for today, I have a wonderful joy to share with you. And this joy comes to us from Joe and Sandy Finnerty. They write, Joy and Sandy Finnerty are very joyful to share their 50th wedding anniversary. On June 27, a second grade teacher, this was June 27, 1970, by the way, a second grade teacher married an Army second lieutenant, resulting in one wonderful marriage that is still going strong. Congratulations, Joe and Sandy, and may you have many, many more blessed years to spend together. A sorrow to share from Tom Boland. A very dear, longtime family friend from Arizona has tested positive for COVID-19 and is experiencing significant symptoms. Please share healing prayers and loving thoughts with him. His name is Joe. He lives in Phoenix. And I'd like to share a joy with you that just happened to me this morning. This summer, I've been spending a lot of time sitting out on my front porch. I've been reading out there, studying, meditating, answering emails, making phone calls, chatting with neighbors. And I've been sharing that space with a little wren family that took up residence in our wren house. They chatter at me and I talk with them, and we've developed kind of a friendship, I like to think. Well, today at about 5:30, I was sitting out there with my morning coffee, and what do you think happened? The baby birds began to fly out of the wren house. It was so exciting. The first little bird flew out, kind of tentatively, trying to find his wings as if he was hoping for the best. And he flew right into the wall. He slid down the wall. But then I watched him shake himself off, picked himself up, and he flew off. Two more little birds flew out, and the whole little family flew off together. It was such a joy to watch that, and I felt so privileged to be there at that moment, and privileged that they trusted me enough to fly out when I was there. It was a joy. And to me, it was a metaphor for life going on. And I know I needed that metaphor. I needed that message, and I know that we all do right now. So I hope you enjoy my sharing it with you. I'd also like to acknowledge all of the unspoken joys and sorrows that I know are in your hearts right now. We're all carrying them, and I'd like to acknowledge them right now and let you know that we share your joys and we support you through your sorrows, even the unspoken ones. So many blessings for a wonderful week ahead. Remember to submit your joys and sorrows for next week. And please join me now in just a brief moment of reflection, meditation, or prayer. Many blessings.
As Eric mentioned at the start, this week's service features pieces of the Service of the Living Tradition from the online UUA General Assembly that took place this past week. The Service of the Living Tradition is a service whose focus is on those people who have come into the UU ministry in the past year, as well as those who have attained new credentials and those who have retired or passed away. In that sense, it is like a service by the clergy for the clergy, and you will see some of that in the reflection offered by the Reverend Danielle DeBona. But make no mistake, her message and her challenge is for all of us. Reverend DeBona has served Unitarian Universalism for 30 years as a parish minister, as a leader in the UUA, and now in her retirement as a hospital chaplain. She is also the 2018 recipient of the Award for Distinguished Service to the Cause of Unitarian Universalism.
I chose this sermon title months ago, not knowing what was coming, and now it seems very eerily to be on target. The recent shooting by 2 armed vigilantes of Ahmaud Arbery, who was jogging in the neighborhood. Breonna Taylor, an EMT, shot in her own apartment by police who allegedly entered the wrong place. And COVID-19, and the never-ending lies coming from the White House, which puts people at risk every day. With the current numbers in the United States, over 2 million confirmed cases and over 115,000 deaths of American people as of June 11th. And now today, as I record this sermon, we have the murder of George Floyd by police in Minneapolis. A black man, 8.5 minutes of being under the knee of a white policeman as he begs for mercy and his mother. My friends, we are in deep trouble. And when I say we, I mean Unitarian Universalist leaders. We are out of time. Revival of relationships, revolution of values. A proposal that will look inward at ourselves and who we are as a faith right now, and a revolution of values, an action-centered faith that tells the world who we are. This is a time of great responsibility for people who claim a liberal faith, but we cannot articulate what it means to be both liberal and faithful. If we do that, we will become like a tree in the forest. Nobody hears it fall, and nobody cares. So let us mull over the revival of relationships. I have watched for over 30 years many of our congregations in action. It is often a beautiful thing. It is just as often discouraging and disappointing. When we cannot or choose not to dig deeply into our relationships with one another within our congregations, we break the very essence of what it means to be people of faith. When we are conflict avoidant, yet willing to gossip, we break the fabric of community. When we, as religious professionals, choose not to lead our congregations in justice-making, we deny them an opportunity to expand their understanding of we. As I continue to speak of and to our religious leaders, you are all welcome to listen in. This is for our religious leaders now. Unitarian Universalism is fortunate to have dedicated, committed, and loving leaders. We have Unitarian Universalist ministers, both parish and community, religious educators and musicians, chomping at the bit to share our liberal faith, chomping at the bit to make the world better, more faithful, people who want to build the brave and beloved community, both within and outside of our building. They guide us to become more selfless, less self-centered, more just, less judgmental, more loving, and less afraid. And of course, as is human nature, for some of our leaders, not so much. I do not judge, but dear siblings in faith, if you are resistant to change, dialogue, and love, I beg of you to put aside any arrogance and stubbornness and come, sit with us, talk with us, pray with us. We are all part of the circle. If you believe you are part of this community who wants to build the brave, beloved community, I charge you to wrap yourself in the banner of bravery and bring forth the good news to your community. The good news that Unitarian Universalism is love, and we will not back down from hatred and fear. If you love your congregation, and I know you do, please invite them into the brave and beloved heart and listen to their expertise, their wisdom, their passion. For you who sit in the pews, we need you now more than ever. We need you to be open to a true shared ministry where you, who have already done such hard work, come and share it with us, your religious leaders. We all must enter into our faith in this new time of pandemic and all that goes with it, ready to open our hearts, minds, and souls first to each other and then to the world. So as we return to church, however that looks in the next year, let us commit to deep honesty, deep listening, and deep learning with an open mind ready to be brave. Thus ends the revival of relationships. Now, let us look inward. Let us change our minds and hearts so that we might make a difference in the world. Let us look for a revolution of values. For too long, Unitarian Universalists have worshipped at the feet of rugged individualism and reason beyond reason. Many UUs have rejected any sense of the wonder and the need of community. We sit in our pews, the same seats every week, with lots of distance between us, even before the pandemic, with lots of distance between us and our fellow church members. What is that about? Why is it? We're advertising our individualism, our go it alone, our I don't need any help, and neither should you. We make noise about welcoming others, but we argue rather than discuss new programs that will benefit the other. We reject the need to understand deeply what it means to be the other, and we adamantly stand our ground around ethics, equality, and values to meet our individual needs. This is not how we want to be seen in the world. Actually, we no longer have the luxury to be defiant and argumentative for argument's sake. Now hear this. I am not talking about good old-fashioned UU debate and individual journeys of faith. I am not talking about towing the line of the company, whatever that might be, and its declarations. This is not about dogma or confession of faith. But in order to face the world today, in order to be part of the saving of the world, we need to find a common language and common values. I propose a value of love beyond love, a willingness to accept all people as they are, a willingness to make deep accommodations to those who are desperately seeking a safe haven. I propose a value of power. We UUs often don't recognize the power of our faith in community, grasp it, and use it for the benefit of others. And we must be willing to give up much of our power. We must be willing to give up power. I propose a value of humility. We all know that UUs are highly educated, very smart, very successful. Now, if we value love beyond love, we must strip away our conceit. We must learn that there are so many ways to be educated and smart. We must value those who enter our doors as the beloved human beings that they are. We must stop pontificating and listen. Listen deeply. We must be willing to be wrong. We must be open to losing the argument for the good of all. I propose a value of learning. We must recognize that others who we do not see as Unitarian Universalists have rituals, experiences, worldviews, and knowledge that we need to hear and learn from and understand. I propose a value of bravery. Stop with the safe space. You don't need it. Be brave. Go out and join the protesters and confront your political leaders. Sit with and befriend the homeless man on the street. Gently, or not so gently, confront those who would bully others, who might be intimidated with hatred. I propose a value of fearlessness. The world is different today than it was last year when we prepared for GA in Spokane. Not only are we rightfully afraid of our leaders and the antagonism towards everything science-based, everything that has been established to protect and provide for its citizens, now we need to fear the invisible, COVID-19. In our fearlessness, we need to be cautious, but we do not need to be terrified into frozenness. This is a time to use our power to insist that our government step up and lead, step up and tell the truth, step up and provide. And we don't even need to leave our homes to do so. I propose a value of imagination. We can use all of our senses to imagine the community we want. What you see, what you think about your UU community in your deepest imagination, you can bring to fruition. I propose a value of generosity. Do not hoard the gifts, share them widely. Do not assume poverty of resources, time, talent, treasure. Spend some of your church's money. The community outside your doors needs it more than your church does. Believe me. Take a leap of faith. Do concrete things. Open your buildings for the kids in the neighborhood. Get wild and crazy. Sell your suburban church and buy a storefront or a box store or a car dealership, all empty because buying is not as important as we thought. Build a community center and tell the world who you are. You are Unitarian Universalists. I work in a hospital in the palliative care department as their chaplain. After working from home, I have now returned to the hospital. Those early days were frightful. Shortages of masks, gowns, gloves, needing to use a mask for 5 days. This may be the beginning of a new time of desperation and fear, and it requires us as Unitarian Universalists to be fearless, brave, and generous, while using our imagination, our bravery, our generosity, and most important, our love. Where do those people who are working 24 hours a day with the same mask and the same PPE, where do they go for hope? Where do they go for love? Open your doors to them. We are Unitarian Universalists. We have so much at our disposal. We have willing leaders in the administration who will provide the services we need to live into our values. We have leaders on the ground in the community who we can follow, who will welcome us into the revolution. This all brings us to the question, who do we want to be in the world? We can be the insular church on a hill, white suburban church of old. That's easy. Or we can revolutionize the church into something so amazing that right now we cannot imagine it. I was at a powwow once and all the people were dancing. One elder was dancing in the opposite direction of all the others. When asked why, he said that the world was in such despair that it was off its axis. And by dancing in the opposite direction, he was trying to tilt it back. There is a lot of tilting needed. So let's dance counterclockwise. Be not afraid. Be not afraid. All of you together possess the amazing ability to share in bringing the world back to sanity, back to its axis. You are called by our ancestors, by those in whose arms we rest, by those who paved the way for our bright and beautiful liberal faith. You are called to turn away from pettiness, despair, fear, arrogance, and turn toward love, faith, bravery, generosity, and humility to make this world, our precious world, and all the people on it, our precious people, whole again. So just go do it.
Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain.
In these times of fear, worry, sickness, I pray for you. I pray for your safety, your well-being, your good health. I pray for your quick recovery from COVID and other illnesses of your body, soul, and mind. I pray that you are secure in home and hearth. I pray that you have enough and will survive. May you be blessed by all that is holy, and may you survive and thrive. May you take on the mantle of faith and bravely go out and change the world. Just change the world. May it be so, and amen.
I'm Tim Temple.
And I'm Jerry Carden. These are our closing words until we can gather safely together again. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.